In a remote and rugged place near the eastern coast of the Red Sea, two men, an American and a Romanian, are clambering over rocks searching for water. They're in a southwestern province of Saudi Arabia and they're looking for a freshwater pool or two. Once they find it, they swim down with a measuring line. They'll need the water to be at least 13 feet deep, and that's so they can climb back up again and take a dive. Both of these men are professional cliff divers. They're used to heights of more than 65 feet from where they can leap, flip, and plunge into hidden, natural, and dramatic pools. The words they use to describe their experience include thrilling, exciting, incredible, and beautiful, fitting descriptions for this rocky and secluded part of a Middle Eastern country. Today on The World from A to Z, the trait of perfectionism, the origin of the word Bluetooth, and the birds that disrupted traffic. I'm Carl Azus, and it's great to be with you this Thursday. Next story, what some experts are calling a rift between the United States and the nation of Israel. Historically, these two countries' governments have been close allies, but as the war between Israel and the Hamas militant group has dragged on, the Biden administration has increasingly voiced concerns about civilians in Gaza and shown growing support for an immediate ceasefire in the Middle Eastern war. That's something Israel says it won't consider until Hamas is defeated and has released all Israeli hostages. The Biden administration says its policy concerning Israel has not changed, that it also wants Israeli hostages to be released. But Israel's government says the U.S. position has changed, that American support for an immediate ceasefire gives Hamas hope that one can happen without its release of Israeli hostages. So this week, Israel called off a planned trip by two of its top government advisors to the United States. The latest war in the Middle East flared up after Hamas launched a terrorist attack against Israelis last October, killing about 1,200 people and taking more than 250 others as hostages. Since then, Hamas says more than 30,000 people have been killed in Gaza, the territory it controls, as Israel has attacked targets there. Dozens of the hostages Hamas took have been released. Some have been killed in the fighting. Experts believe about 100 remain in Gaza. And that's been one of the sticking points in calls for a ceasefire. How many hostages would Hamas release? How many Palestinian prisoners would Israel release in exchange? And what happens after a possible ceasefire? These are all unanswered questions at this point. The support of the United States government has helped keep Israel's government from being singled out on the world stage, as other countries have increasingly pushed for a ceasefire and Israel has resisted one. Even within the U.S. government, some lawmakers from both parties have pressured the Biden administration to maintain its support for Israel, while some Democrats have joined the administration in pushing for an immediate ceasefire. So political tensions, both domestic and international, have increased as the war has continued. Okay, next story. Mental health is a topic we love to discuss on The World from A to Z. The trait we're talking about today can lead to great success, but also an unhealthy fear of failure, according to health experts. We're discussing perfectionism, some of its characteristics, and some effective ways to address it.
Experts describe perfectionism as a personality trait with downsides including having unreasonably high standards, unrealistic expectations, and a tendency toward intense self-criticism.
It really drives us into a place of constantly pushing to the point of extreme stress and overwhelm and burnout.
Psychotherapist Jody Baumstein with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta says it's important for children and teenagers to hear that nobody is perfect and that they're not expected to be perfect either. Patience and not beating ourselves up when mistakes are made can help here. Experts say effort should be recognized, how hard someone worked, not just whether or not they got an A or won the game. And finally, it's important for us to recognize the difference between failing at something and being a failure.
So when they think I failed, well, then they're motivated. They see that this is a moment in time. It's temporary. It's something everybody experiences. And there's something they can do better next time.
I'm Lindsay Wolfgang Mast for The World from A to Z.
On this date in world history. The worst nuclear accident in U.S. history took place on this date in 1979. The 3 Mile Island plant near Pennsylvania's capital Harrisburg partially melted down and released a small amount of radioactive material. Federal regulations of nuclear plants are now stricter. The first permanent star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame was completed on March 28, 1960. Stanley Kramer received the honor for working on such films as High Noon, The Caine Mutiny, and On the Beach. There are now over 2,700 stars on Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, come see the greatest show on earth, besides mine. What became the Barnum and Bailey Circus had its first show on March 28, 1881. It was a merger of the shows put on by P.T. Barnum and James Bailey, and its namesake still tours to this day, featuring 75 performers from more than 18 countries.
Word of knowledge. Who or what is Bluetooth named for? Is it a type of antenna, character in the Odyssey, fabric pattern, Scandinavian king? Commonly associated with 21st century technology, Bluetooth was named after a Viking who ruled during the Middle Ages.
Bluetooth is named after this guy, a 10th century Scandinavian king named Harald Gormson. But if that's not even his name, how did he come to be called Bluetooth? Probably because he had a rotten tooth. There weren't many options for dental care in the 10th century, and Harald was apparently known for his grayish-bluish bad tooth. Harald Bluetooth Gormson was also known for uniting the people of Denmark and Norway, or if you take the Norse version of history, forcing them into subjugation. Either way, for Bluetooth and the Danes, it was a victory. Fast forward 1,000 years, and reps from 3 tech companies, Intel, Ericsson, and Nokia, were collaborating on a project. Their idea was to standardize short-range radio technology so that different devices could connect with each other. One of them suggested naming the project after the Viking king, known for his powerful unification efforts. So they called the technology Bluetooth, at first just among themselves. The plan was to change the name once the system went public, but they ran into trademark issues with all of their other name ideas, and surprise, surprise, no one had claimed Bluetooth yet, so it stuck. And if you look closely, you'll see that the Bluetooth logo is a combination of the runic symbols for Harald Bluetooth's initials.
There are 8 states that start with the letter N, and we're visiting 2 of them today. The first one's New Jersey. Mrs. DeRosa's class is with us from Hopatcong Middle School. It's in the borough of Hopatcong. Next, it's on to North Dakota, where Mrs. Haugland's class is with us from Trenton High School. The Tigers are on the prowl in the community of Trenton. If birds of a feather flock together, let's hope they don't wind up in traffic. Here are a couple instances in which they did recently, but everything turned out all right in the end.
Take a look at an escaped ostrich legging it out through bustling city traffic in South Korea. Eyewitnesses captured the bizarre sight on camera as the exotic bird, which apparently hightailed it out of a nearby zoo, hot-footed it through a busy street. Officials responded and were reportedly able to safely capture the ostrich, named Tadori, in a nearby parking lot and return it to the zoo. How's about an even happier ending to a traffic-related animal story? In early March, a bald eagle was rescued after it was reportedly injured by a car on a Connecticut interstate. Multiple agencies were involved in the rescue of the juvenile eagle, which was handed over to animal nonprofit Christine's Critters, which said the eagle suffered head trauma, but no broken bones. After a few weeks of some TLC and targeted rehabilitation, I am pleased to report this majestic bird of prey has taken flight once again, being safely released back into the wild. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Glad folks could help those birds get off the streets. Whether fishing on Ocean Drive, perching on Peachtree, feeding on Acorn, cruising the Strip, keeping it Beale, walking down Woodwood, or hopping down Lombard Street, no highway's the flyway for the birds, even if people yield, pull over, and stop to signal they're driven to help. I'm Carl Azus, thankful you're flying with us on the world from A to Z. You mean the world to me.